Well, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're back! We're back! We missed one in March, but we're back now. And my name's Chris Sperring. I'm Conservation Officer for the Hawk and Owl Trust. With me, sat this side of me, is the wonderful Mark. Mark, give everybody a wave, please. Mark is the expert producer, director, technical director as well. And I am sat in his studio, which looks more like the inside of the USS Enterprise A. And we are here, and we're going to be talking tonight about what you can see in front of you at the moment, our barn owls. Now, let's start the story. Let's go back in time, all the way back to this time last year, when there was a pair of barn owls here. And partway through the rearing of the owlets, the female disappeared and she did not return. And the male managed to bring off the owlets successfully by himself. Obviously, they were over, the older ones were over a certain age period. Those that were younger, they didn't make it because obviously he wasn't feeding them direct. All he was doing was bringing food back for them. And obviously then he went all the time from fledging, so from July all the way through to, when did she turn up? About February or March, was it?
Well, the new female?
Yeah.
It was, well, she was skirting around February time.
Late February time. And finally, a new female has appeared, and she is currently sat on 5 eggs. So, yes! And we were all very, very worried whether we were watching on the Hawk and Owl Trust site or whether we were watching on YouTube. And indeed, Mark has reiterated the fact that he was very worried that we weren't going to get any breeding at all. I was a bit more optimistic, but my only reasoning for being more optimistic is that this nest site, my friends, is in the Somerset Levels. So it's in Barn Owl Central. So if you lose a partner, your chances of gaining a partner are much higher down here than they would be, for instance, on the fringes of the levels or slightly further away where there's less barn owls. You see the difference in coloration there between the male and the female. That's actually a brilliant picture there. So on the left-hand side, we've got the male. He's looking a lot lighter in colour than the female. I'd hazard a guess, actually, Mark, that this is a much younger female than our female of last year.
It would make a lot of sense.
It would make a lot of sense. Her feathers are absolutely pristine there. And you see that lovely mosaic pattern on her back, which actually does break up her outline. So that even if she was in a more, this is a dark box, so even if she was in a light area, she would still camouflage in. So it just breaks up the outline. More importantly, obviously, when she's out flying, especially of an evening like this, when we take you to the outside cameras, you'll get that low light at this time of the year where the sun's fairly low down, and it really gives different colour variations off of the grass itself. And her, as she would be patrolling then over the top of that grass, if you were a hawk above her or a falcon above her, those patterns and that colour really does break up her outline. So what I'm implying there is that even though these are predators, they can become predated. All predators obviously can become predated at some stage. Looking at the box itself, it's looking great. It looks like it's had a bit of a tidy up, Mark. Did you do that?
No, I didn't have an opportunity to, because the male has been in residence all winter on his poor little self. So I've not had a chance to have a clean out.
It looks pretty good in there. I think we probably get to a clean out next autumn then. So yeah. Let's bookmark that. But there's some lovely pellets in there, and you can actually see there's bits of pellet as well. And I don't know if you caught that little bit when we started. Oh, I think she's going to do it again. Let's just... So when we do these lives, for those of you that are watching now, the live camera takes precedence. So even if I'm talking about something else, if anything happens in the live camera, we go straight back to it. That's absolutely important. He's having a lovely scratch there at the moment, but I thought she was going to go forward then, because what you can see around her is the fact that you've got broken pellets. And when we first were live, you could actually see her breaking up some of those pellets. So that helps her to form that platform where her eggs are actually sat. So she's actually got her belly straight down on the eggs to keep them nice and warm there. And so we've got 5 eggs at the moment. Are you doing bets again on how many eggs are going to be laid?
I'm betting 6. Got to be 6.
You're betting 6
every year. Well, actually, saying that, it's a new female, so maybe it won't be 6.
Wow, actually, a lot of it will depend on food, but we know from how we've been watching in the past when they've laid big broods, and then the environment has obviously sent them a false signal. Yeah. So that is that early on the voles have been good, and then suddenly the weather kicks in and the voles aren't so good, or they're unable to catch them. So having a big brood, yes, it's marked by the availability of food that's around them, but that can send them a false signal, and then suddenly the brood collapses, as we've had quite a few times. And that's mostly down here on the levels where it floods a lot. Somerset levels, kind of the name gives it away, really, doesn't it? And so yes, and throughout the whole of this winter, I think it's fair to say you've had a lot of water, haven't you?
Yeah, we've always got a lot of water. Yeah.
And now, since February, obviously we've had this very long dry period, and I think we will pay for it at the end. I think it's. I'm predicting now. I'm going to upset everybody by saying I think actually the mid to latter part of the summer is going to be quite wet, but that change in the weather can bring them a lot of problems, particularly. So we've been through an extensive wet period down here, which would have hampered the grass. Now it's an extended, very dry period, which also can impact the grass as well, because you don't get the fast growing grass that you would get when it's a dry occasionally. Then you have those wonderful spring showers just topping it up a little bit. We haven't had that, so it will be interesting to see once these eggs have actually hatched what how they cope with bringing food back. So that's why we want to do another live again round about hatching time. So in about a month's time we should be doing another live, and we'll have a different emphasis then, because what we want to be talking about is more about the habitat. So this box where they are at the moment is an adopter box. So if you go to the Hawk and Owl Trust website, which I can tell you now, I know off by heart, by the way, that is, he's done it. He's ahead of me. If you go to www.hawkandowltrust.org.uk, find the Adopter Box page. There's some wonderful bit of information there. They make great Christmas presents, and it says there also Valentine's Day or birthdays, any kind of celebration, or just adopt a box. And it's something that I know a lot of classes in schools do. They adopt a box, they receive information about what's going on inside their box, and of course you can get to watch these wonderful live cameras as well. If we go back to the live feed, and what you'll actually be able to do is follow these birds all the way through this process from the early stages all the way through to egg laying, and then finally hatching, and of course the fledging period. And we shall hopefully be able to see the male go into action. Predictions? He should be going out to hunt fairly soon, although he's had good weather, so he's probably brought back enough food. There's no surplus of food there, so when I say surplus of food, what I expect to see probably at this stage is some voles or mice actually left in the box, not eaten, because they're sufficient. So that may be an early indication that things aren't actually that wonderful out there. So we'll have to see on that. But anyway, there's some other surprises here as well, because Mark's been busy. He's put up a tawny owl box. Don't show it yet. Because he's way ahead of me. Every time I say something, another camera feed comes up. But he's got a wonderful tawny owl box, and he's had some great success with the tawny owls. Let's see the tawny owls in the box. Not. I told you they don't read the books. This is a female kestrel incubating. How many eggs have we got here?
4 eggs. So
Four eggs. Brilliant. So when I first came in to sit in the Starship here, the Starship studio, the male was actually incubating. So it's a bit different to the owls in that obviously they swap over incubation where the owls don't. And this is a fairly deep tawny owl box. And we had a little bit of comedy earlier with the male struggling to get out, but he did very successfully in the end, particularly when she sat on the edge. So great success. Well done, Mark.
Thank you.
Celebrations. You've got a kestrel nesting in your tawny owl box. Yes. Did you put a sign outside?
I was going to say Tawny's only, but then it was too late.
But you have had tawny owls visiting
We
us,
have.
haven't you?
We've had them visiting the box. They came back consistently every night. I think the kestrels just got in there before them.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yep. Okay. So carrying on our story then, let's go back to our barn owls again. What we're going to do now is call up some videos of some things that have happened from the last time we were live to this time. Now we have had visits from tawny owls, haven't we? To here.
Yeah.
But we've also had a visit from a very rare owl in these year parts. Let's call up this one. I'll talk through it. So this is coming at the end of nearly the end of winter, and there is a long-eared owl. And I think a lot of people, when they first saw this video, thought this was short-eared, and that's basically it's an easy mix-up because obviously the ear tufts aren't up. But if you look at the head there, can we freeze the video when the head goes down next? Now. No.
Too slow.
Too slow. Now.
I don't think I can pause it.
Okay. If you can't pause it, that's fine. But you can actually see the ear tufts are on the top. There's a different coloration there on the top of the head, and they're just laid back. This bird is very relaxed. Look at this, and I think he's been around that area before. He's not nervous, or she, of course, and I think basically that it's been around there for some time, and it just happens that on this particular evening it's flown through and landed there. Now what fascinates me about this is that they are very rare here in southwest of England. They're rare in lots of other places in the country as well. And there's an estimate, there are various estimates of population levels in the country. The one I saw the other day was about 2,000 pairs left in the country. And we run a project in the Hawk and Owl Trust which is primarily looking at winter populations. So one of the things that I used to study here across the levels and further north in North Somerset and up and down the Severn Estuary is how many wintering long-eared owls there were, and they would come in groups, and some of those groups would be very high. So the highest number I ever recorded was right back in 1986, and that was a group of around about 19 birds in one tree. Quite amazing. And during those times we used to have breeding occurring in various places, and then as the number of winter birds gradually disappeared, and through the, I would say around about late 1990s, early 2000s, they just were either very difficult to find or they just weren't here. And up to date, bring it all up to date, I know of no winter roosts now. All my traditional winter roosts, even though the habitat may not have changed, the birds aren't there. And I talk to my friends in Norway and Sweden, and they say, well, they just don't need to leave, or they're moving not such a great distance south. They don't have to, because the winters are just so much more milder now across Europe compared to what they were 20, 30 years ago. So that's a reasonable explanation. But obviously my question is that if that's the case, then is that the reason why we're not getting breeding now? And I did a study throughout the southwest working with forestry, England, and in 2009 we did find some breeding. So we basically visited a lot of their forests and forest edges, and we did find breeding. We estimated the population of the southwest around about 10 to 15 pairs. Did a follow-up survey to that, revisiting all of those sites, and we found none at all in those sites. So marked difference, and to see this bird is wonderful, because if we take time back from where your site is here, Mark, in the Somerset Levels, and if we actually go back in time to early 1990s, then there was a regular breeding pair that occurred around about 3 miles away from where that bird was perched. And they're not there now, but this, to me, when I saw this bird, I thought, this is worth checking out. So when we get to the end of May, I shall be walking up and down your ditches, Mark.
Yep.
And I will be listening out for the sounds of squeaky gates. And that's young long-eared owls calling. Sounds a little bit like... Did that come out on the headphones?
Yep.
Good, good. I know when I do these calls in the past, folks, it's not come out. You've not heard it, but it's good that you've heard that. So the call of the male, which would be the call of the long-eared owl in the spring, so and it's not a long calling season, would be a low-toned, sounds like air over a beer bottle, an empty one at that. You've got to empty it first. Always remember that. Woo, woo, woo. And the call of the female, woo, woo, sounds like paper through, blowing air through paper through a comb. So right, get back to our female kestrel is doing things. Let's go and have a look, quick. I can see on the monitor. She's frozen. She's not moving, Mark.
Oh.
Have we got a problem with the camera? No, I can see on the monitor there. She's actually digging her nest there. Okay. I'm gonna fire it up again. There we are. There. You can see her shuffling around. What she was actually doing there, she's still doing it, is reaffirming that bowl, running around, making sure that the eggs are pressed up tight to her there. See that lovely long tail there pressed up against the side of that box. Now, if she'd chosen to nest in a kestrel box, of course, it'd be such a squash. And if you want the difference between the male and the female, when the male was sat there, we could see beautifully his grey head and grey tail compared to the female, who I think is equally as gorgeous as the male. I suppose the male is handsome, isn't he? And the female is just, she's beautiful. Look at this. And this is a bird which, the kestrel is a bird which has declined quite a lot throughout the UK. Now amber listed, so it's a 25% decline. Predominantly it will be out feeding on much the same things as the barn owl, actually. So it's going to be very interesting because these two nests aren't very far apart. So they're going to be feeding on similar food source, so short-tailed voles, bank voles, shrews, mice, and also they're capable of taking a lot more insect material than the owls would do. So that's the bit where it doesn't cross over, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out, this story between the barn owls and the kestrels. I've seen many videos on YouTube and some wonderful footage from people of kestrels actually stealing food from barn owls. So a barn owl flying back to the nest. Oh, she's coming out now. So I wonder if that's the male coming back in. I'll just go quiet, let the camera take precedence. Yeah, beautiful 4 eggs, mottled brown there. Lovely bit of camouflage in that. And is she going to swap with the male? Is the male going to come in? This is what happened last time. Maybe it was me talking too much. I'll just hold on.
Whilst we're waiting, interestingly, I'm hoping this will take some of the pressure off of the barn owls, because last year and the year before, this kestrel was constantly pestering the barn owls in their box.
Yes.
So maybe this will give them a bit of wiggle room to not be so disturbed.
The pressure will come when the owl's coming back with food and the kestrel snatches it off them, and obviously the kestrel's using its ability and its speed.
Just hear the kestrel's calling now.
Oh, can you? Maybe she's calling him back. Bit of an argument going on. Yeah, let me have the headphones.
You might as well keep those on, then you can hear what we're doing.
Maybe go to your bird table. Maybe the kestrel's not very happy at what's on your bird table. Nice bit of evening chorus. There's the magpie. Oh, hang on, we've got the male coming in. Go back to the kestrel. Get back to the kestrel. Yes. Oh no, they're together. I can hear them. Should be the male coming in. He didn't want to take his shift, did he? Will he come in or won't he? Or did I make a mistake? And is it her? I thought saw sort of grey head there. It's a fairly warm evening, so when as I was driving, I looked at the temperature. It's about 14. Now it's the male. There, look at that beautiful grey head, grey tail.
Quite a difference, isn't there, between the two? I didn't know that.
And the back colour as well. You notice that's it's not so patterned on the back. And I love those little, almost like arrowheads on the back that the male has.
He hasn't got the bars on the tail at all, has he?
No. Beautiful male. There he is, wriggling, settling in position. Beautiful, lovely. Right, we can go back to the bird table if you like. We can talk about the magpie. Oh, it's just.
Let's put it on quad, and then you can have the PTZ on there as well.
Okay, that's great. We'll see what else comes in on the bird table. Do you want me to pass these back to you?
No, I mean, it's up to you. If you want to be able to hear what's going on.
Oh, I can't hear myself speak. So, yes, interesting that you've got your feeders up. What have we seen on the feeders so far? You've had house sparrow, reed buntings was on there, magpie, and it's really interesting to see, obviously, the magpie there. The magpie is a potential threat to, in particular, I would say the kestrel, more so than the owl.
We've had stock doves, collared doves, and crows. The crows are always fighting with the kestrels.
Yeah.
Well, the kestrels are seeing them off as soon as they see a crow.
Yeah.
And a pheasant. We have a pheasant.
Setting up that defence. Setting up that defence. Especially, do it now before the young hatch. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Back at our barn owl box, they're just settling in. So, if we've got a bit of a pause at the moment in action, shall we take a look around the... let's go to Sculthorpe, see what's live there. Okay, yep. So, we've got the tawny owls here. This is the tawny owl box. Now, there was a bit of an incident here, wasn't there? Because these eggs are now... deserted. This has now been deserted. Have you got that footage?
I do not know. I'm afraid not.
You don't have the footage. Well, basically, what happened here, folks, is that the female was actually had another female come in and actually remove the female from this nest. And in the end, obviously, she got fed up and gave up the ghost completely. Now, this is. When I first saw this was really, really interesting because there's a site fairly close to where I live where for 3 years of trying, a pair of tawny owls got to hatching stage and then they just gave up completely. Now, there is a camera on that particular nest, but it's not as effective as this nest. So in other words, it's not giving you continual footage, like for instance from this particular site. So what happened at that site was we were completely puzzled until I actually went out and had a look around the owl's territory, and I found something very interesting, folks, and that was the fact that there was another nest 150 metres away with 2 young. And so that is pure population pressure. The fact that they would have, in the same way, got ousted. And if you look at our wonderful Hawk and Owl Trust nature reserve at Skelthorpe Moor, it's not surprising. It's the woodland there is absolutely brilliant. So it's not surprising there. So this is classic regulation of population. This is classically how, for instance, the owls will do it. And one going in to attack another one is just simply reducing that level of competition. So, we've got a question. Helen says, how are the peregrines at St John's Yeovil doing? Well, should we go and have a look?
Which ones are they? Are they Eli?
No, they're Bath.
Bath Peregrines. Here we go.
Oh no, Yeovil you mean? Ah,
No.
this is St John's, Bath. I'm getting confused now. Oh, yes. So this is Yeovil. We got a live feed from. Sorry, no, this is Bath. We got a live feed from Bath, and she's still on eggs at the moment. And I'll deal with more peregrine stuff in the second half of the show. We'll have a look around all of the peregrines. So I'll answer, Helen. I'll answer that question a lot more then. I think that's probably the answer for now. Oh, she's coming off. Look, eggs. Got 2 eggs there. And this is St John's in Bath. Okay, so we're getting mixed up, I think, with 2 St John's.
Is there a St John's in Yeovil? Or
Yeah.
maybe Helen means Bath?
Yeah, no, I will clarify all of that in the second half.
Okay.
So, so that's the view from St John's in Bath at this particular moment. So let's go to go back to your feeder. We got action on the feeder. Yep, bit of confrontation there between 2 magpies. No, it's interesting with magpies. That's a bit of a good dust up, that is, isn't it? With the magpies, obviously, they should be nesting at the moment, and their nests are fairly easy to see, particularly before the leaf canopy comes over, because they make that wonderful, huge dome nest with a roof on the top. And if you talk to a lot of people, they think that the roof mark, that's to keep the rain off, and it's actually not. It's to keep those pesky crows from looking in. And so you have the carrion crow, which is obviously bigger than the magpie, and I've actually seen this in my own garden, whereby the crows will patrol over the top and work together to try and get the magpie young. So a lot of people think, and I've had this from lots of people, that there's nothing predating birds like this. Well, there is, and there's a hierarchy within the corvids, as the same as there is within the diurnal birds of prey, the same there is with the nocturnal birds of prey, the owls. And for example, within that hierarchy, below the crow comes the magpie. And so if you could draw an apex, you have to have something at the top of that apex, something at the peak of that, and that would of course be the raven. So we go back to kestrels really quick. We've got male and female. Now we've got the female actually looking in. You can actually see the male trying to get out there. That's a big jump for him.
Sorry, the feed is not playing ball for some reason.
Okay. Well, we've just had a crossover with the kestrels. I can commentate it by looking in the on the monitor, and the female is now in and the male is now out. So we've had a swap over there. She's just shuffling in.
It's a problematic camera, that one.
It is. And you can't do anything about it.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. No. So that's nice. We've just seen that was a very short shift by the male. Very short shift. And don't say that too fast.
No.
Okay, right. Well, we're going to break for the end of part 1, and when we come back in part 2, what we're going to be talking about more is the peregrines, and we will actually look around the reserves, and we've got a couple of interviews that we're going to actually run past you, interviews that I've recorded during the past week. Okay, so we'll go to a break now and be back for part 2 in about 10 minutes. Bye for now. Well, here we are again for part 2. Welcome back, everybody. And first of all, we thought we'd give you a look around the area here. So the area that the kestrels and obviously the barn owls will be hunting. So we need to go to an external camera and away from the bird table. That was very quick, by the way, Mark. That was actually amazing.
Pre-programmed.
Yeah, that was great. So this is the view from the owls and the kestrel site. You're looking north there, towards the northwest, and looks like there's an egret there in the background, just lifting off from the levels. So we are on the Somerset levels itself, and indeed we're looking at a drain there, and this is somewhere where I've been doing quite a bit of work actually, working with the wonderful people at the Environment Agency. So the Hawk and Owl Trust are working closely with the Environment Agency along this drain, and the whole stretch, if you like, goes from here and it goes probably about 15 miles back towards the estuary. That's phase 1 of a 2-tier project that we're actually working on at the moment. And that will be putting up some boxes. In fact, I can show you a video of that a little bit later, but not now. We're just going to concentrate for now, just looking at the immediate habitat around the barn owls and the kestrels here, because now we're officially adding the kestrels to the interest. Oh, look at those insects. Oh, yes. We love insects. Look at that. I bet I'd get bitten if I went out there now. I bet that's the biting ones, isn't it? That's the famous Somerset Levels mosquitoes.
Yeah, a lot of mayflies as well, of course.
Yeah, I know, but I know those. When I go off on an evening across the levels at this time of the year, it's well, they're about the size of carrion crows with hypodermic syringes in front of them. They really are painful. Anyway, so the habitat here, we've got some lovely lush fields, and you can actually see the texture of the grass there, and towards the banks of the ditches there where you're looking in the middle ground, you can see it's a lot rougher there. If you go back to your original picture, swing back the way you came from, we'll have a look at that rough grassland that sits immediately in front of the barn owl nest, this here. Then that would be quite a good vole reservoir there. But I think you told me before, Mark, that lower ground there, so that actually floods quite regularly.
Yeah, unfortunately there's a hole in the bank that means when the river goes above 7 metres, it leaks, basically.
It's relief then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not welcome relief, but relief nonetheless. And that field, it fills up with water.
Yeah. So, but now we're obviously with it drying, you can see it's quite lush there, and so if the voles did suffer from the floods in the winter, then obviously that is now recovering quite nicely. And the up-to-date news from our barn owl nest, is that the male is out, and so he's out here somewhere. So what Mark can do with this wonderful camera is he can scan around for him and see if he's actually out there hunting. But we can only scan one side, so we're only looking at one side of the barn owl nest. So we're looking north, and then we'll be looking towards the west. Aiming now towards the west. Just see if there is an owl out there hunting. So if he is out there in the south, we can't see him because the camera doesn't go around that far. But look at that. That is wonderful. Look at the insects there. That's what we want to see. Lots and lots of insects. To feed all those small birds, their young. Good sources of protein.
Yeah, but quick check on the south field, see what's there.
Oh, you can look to the south there.
Just a tiny bit. It's unfortunately blocked by a building.
Which just happens to be your
railway track, but these are the hills to the south.
So the land here gives way to the next hill.
Yeah.
Nice block of woodland there.
Can't see him there anywhere, unfortunately.
No, okay. Okay, let's go back to the nest. And the up-to-date from the nest, obviously the male out, and the female is now resumed her position. Actually, is that? No, it's a pellet. There's a lovely couple of fresh pellets there right at the back, which can be viewed quite easily. I'll give you a quick update from the from our Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve. So we have two nature reserves. We have Sculthorpe, the wonderful Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve in Norfolk, which I don't get to enough, but that's because I'm down here in Somerset. But somewhere I do get to quite a lot is obviously our Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve on the Somerset levels. And we've got a video. We've got an interview I did with the wonderful Alex, who is our full-time warden at Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve. And Alex is going to hopefully give you an update now with the interview. Hopefully it's going to work. And so here we go. Cue Alex.
Hi, my name is Alex Learmont. I'm the reserve warden at Shapwick Moor.
Alex, what's going on here at the moment? What's the exciting things?
Well, we've got lots of exciting things going on at the moment. It's quite an exciting time of year. There are lots of things on the reserve that are breeding. So yesterday we did a breeding bird survey and we recorded about 36 different species, which is really good. It's a really good number for us, including some quite interesting things. We have big flocks of linnet, which is really nice. And the really unusual record that we picked up was a marsh tit. Which is quite exciting for us. So that was down towards the Barbara Hanley High, so we were really pleased about that. And yeah, this is really the time of year that we're getting going with our surveys, our monitoring on the reserve. So we've also set up our reptile survey. We'll be doing the first survey next week, and lots more surveying to come, so that's really cool. Speaking of reptiles, another project we just finished just last week is we built a reptile hibernacular, which is quite a weird word, hibernacular, but it basically means a big structure where reptiles and amphibians can overwinter. So it's a mixture of rubble and logs and earth. It's got lots of crevices so they can get down into under the ground, and it's a safe place for them to overwinter. And in the summer we hope it's a spot where they'll bask as well, so it'll be a chance for people out visiting the reserve to see some of these reptiles up close.
Brilliant. Oh, by the way, I found one extra bird for you this morning. I don't know if you've recorded that nesting. Bullfinch nesting.
Oh wow, no,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually right behind you, in a hedgerow behind you at the moment.
Really?
So I'll tell you afterwards exactly where it is.
That's
So,
such good news.
but bullfinch for us in North Somerset is incredibly rare. So I don't know what it's like down here, whether it's more common down here. In terms of birds of prey, obviously the famous kestrels of Shapwick Moor. I've seen them this morning. So are they breeding?
I suspect they might be. We've seen a lot of breeding courtship behaviour going on, particularly down that end of the reserve. So that would be
Down the west end.
The west end, that's right. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, down that end. I was just getting my geography. So we have seen them mating actually up in the trees there. We've seen them perching and using some of the boxes. So I suspect they might be using that part of the reserve.
Yeah, and being the Hawk and Owl Trust, of course, they're spoilt for boxes of where to go. Any signs of the barn owls in the evening?
I haven't seen them actually myself, but as what normally happens is we find signs of them. So we find pellets under the boxes quite regularly. They really like to roost under the eaves of our workshop, so we quite often find signs of them there. So they're definitely out and about, but it's just a chance of being in the right place at the right time.
Okay, your chance now to advertise any events you've got coming up.
Our events, we've got lots of walks planned for the summer. So we've got 2 walks that take place once a month. So we've got a Warden's Walk, which is on the second Friday of the month, and a Well Woman Walk, which happens on the last Monday of the month. And as we move into May, June, what we usually do is shift our timings from a morning walk to an evening walk, so we can come out and enjoy the sunset and get a bit of twilight and the sort of nocturnal species that can start to come out. So if you're interested in those, head to the website to book on, and they're always a lot of fun, and it's a great way to meet new people as well that are interested in the same things.
So for more information on that, www.hawkandowltrust.org.uk.
That's right. Perfect.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
All right, take care. Bye.
And again, from me, thank you very much, Alex, for that. And for those of you who keep asking me about when I'm going to do my or get my walks going again on Shatwick Moor, at the moment, what I'm actually doing here, you can have your headphones back now.
Thank you.
What I'm actually doing at the moment is monitoring. I'm doing a lot of monitoring, so that's pretty full on now for the next few weeks. But as soon as that starts scaling down, I will do my once a month walk, wildlife walk at Shatwick Moor, and that will be advertised via www.hawkandowltrust.org. And again, a special shout out for both of our reserves, of course. Wonderful places. If you're ever in the area of the Somerset levels, do pop in and have a look at our Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve. And again, obviously, if you're travelling to Norfolk, because I know many people from Somerset go bird watching in Norfolk, do go and have a look at our magnificent Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve there as well. Now, we had some questions, didn't we? So let's deal with a few questions before we go skirting off round all the other cameras.
So, Suzanne Taylor said, so do you think the tawny mum from the other box who was attacked, the tawny mum has left those eggs? So this was...
Sculthorpe.
In reference to Sculthorpe, when we were looking at the camera there, whether the mother was attacked by a local female.
Yeah, I do think that's probably what has happened. I actually saw the video of them being chased off. I was actually sent the video, and it did look like it was another female going into the box. And as I've already said, I don't know if you picked up on that, but I surmise that we've had a similar thing happening local to me as well, where we have a small woodland where there's two nests very close together, and so the dominant pair are not actually ousted the other pair. They're still there. It's just that once they reach a certain stage of incubation, it's almost like they're turfed off. And of course, the beauty with Sculthorpe Moor, what we've had, which we didn't have in the site that was close to me, was a camera that was always running, so we were able to see that actually take place. But fascinating bit of behaviour, and to me it says a lot about the quality of the nature reserve. It means the tawnies are packed in really tight into those areas, and wonderful bit of behaviour. And if it wasn't for these cameras, I keep saying this, if it wasn't for these cameras, we would not have this information. I mean, for 3 years, we waited to get the information in North Somerset about why this pair were reaching the point of hatching and then failing. What was going wrong? Why did she suddenly desert? You know, we blamed all sorts of things. We blamed squirrels, but then ruled that out simply because she was able to chase the squirrels out. But if she couldn't obviously have maintained that, and I think, you know, seeing that video has really helped in that respect. And again, full praise to cameras, because we wouldn't have known. We just wouldn't have known, and we'd be guessing. We'd be blaming something and not probably thinking of the obvious, like the fact that you've got population pressure caused by the fact that you've got these wonderful habitats.
That kind of leads into another question from John Taylor, who asks, how far apart should tawny nest boxes be? What is the size roughly of a tawny owl territory?
Oh, it's the $54 million question. Well, I've seen textbooks say that it's 2 square kilometres of good woodland habitat, but then you get sites which are much closer. I would argue that some of the urban sites I know are much, the pairs are much further apart. Now I'm going on pairs now, I'm not going on actual nest sites. And I think that's because of the poor quality of the habitat. But where you get some of these fantastic woodland edge woodlands, what do I mean by that? I mean like a whole woodland is suddenly a woodland edge, or it mimics a woodland edge. It's absolutely teeming with small mammals. Then obviously you're going to pack them in really tight. So it's almost an impossible question to answer, because I had one particular woodland which was a 200-acre woodland where I think we put 12 boxes up, and we would at times get 10 ewes, and so start working it out. They were evenly spaced, and so it's a difficult one to answer. And I think if you're saying perhaps we shouldn't be putting up to so many boxes in one area, then you also need to offset some of the other bird species, and particularly some of those furry little mammals with bushy tails that like using the box as well. You need to offset that. So sometimes sticking up more boxes can help you offset that. So unless you actually know where the pairs are, and I think the best time for finding out where they are is that autumn period when they're doing the majority of their calling. Obviously, it's an overinflated population because you've got young ones entering into the arena, but the dominant calls are coming from the pairs which are holding territory. You've got another go at that in December, January, when most of the young ones that are calling should have sorted themselves out. Either they have succumbed, or they are now establishing into territory. So that I would say mid-December through to the end of January, if you're getting calling then in a woodland, start plotting that down on a map, and you've got a pretty good idea of your pairage spacing, and then target your boxes close to where the birds regularly call from. Think about that.
Lisa Duncan.
Did that answer it?
I think it did.
Was that okay?
It was very in-depth.
Let me know if that was okay. Yeah, let me know.
Lisa Duncan says, will you take the abandoned eggs out of the box?
Good question. It's not really, it's not my call, but yes, I would find it interesting to do that. I'm not in Sculthorpe, so I can't exactly rush up there and do it, but what I would do, and it would have to be done under license, the eggs should be removed and candled to see if there was any young inside. But don't leave it too long, folks, because if you pick up an egg which has been left to go a bit rotten, even touching it might make it explode, and they don't smell very nice at all. No. So, been there, done that, starred in the film, and wore the T-shirt, which needed washing very thoroughly indeed.
So we've got two more questions. The next question is from Sarah Blessing. She asks, the Norwich mama gave me a chick view. Did one of the chicks not make it? Lower left looks like remains, and I could only see 2 babies.
Oh.
Although the remains could well be leftovers for dinner, and the white fluff all merges a bit.
Yes. We haven't got the zoom technology, but I would need to zoom in on that. I must admit, when I looked at that earlier, I thought that was remains from food, but I stand to be corrected. Any update information from Norwich, that update we haven't got, but that can prompt us. So have we got many more questions? So sorry, I can't answer that properly.
One more after that, and that's regarding our hours.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so Helen...
I think she's actually going to stand up if you go back.
Oh.
Sorry about that, Mark. She might not.
Just takes a minute for it to connect, because obviously it's got to go a long way down the interwebs.
Yep. No, she didn't. She didn't move. Ooh. Sorry, you'll see me lean forward periodically like this because it's quite important what I'm doing. I'm actually trying desperately to keep my Mac powered up because it's feeding the code to Mark to keep the whole thing running. So no, she's going to sleep. She's had enough.
Okay, going back to the question from Helen, she says, would you say that the new female barn owl is a young one? It's interesting watching her behaviour.
Yeah, when we had the colour view of her earlier, I really did think she looked like a younger bird, pristine feathers. So yes, I think she is. She's obviously been recruited from somewhere in the levels, and she didn't. I think I'm right in saying, Mark, correct me, you're watching this all the time, but she didn't exactly come straight in and stay in.
No,
it was gradual, wasn't it?
They took quite a lot of getting used to each other.
Yeah.
Shall we say it was a very cold relationship to begin with, and as she persisted, our male became more and more interested. They were, either end of the box initially, and the male, very standoffish, and then they would occasionally greet each other when they came in, and then they were getting closer, and then the next thing you know, mutual preening was happening, and mating.
Yeah. You're probably noticing the moths in now. These moths are particularly interesting because I can remember when I was young being chased around my house by my mother, and basically the reason for that was that I would bring home owl pellets and I would put them in bags and leave them in cupboards, and in the cupboards there were clothes, so they weren't just cupboards, these were clothes cupboards. They were drawers, etc., and the pellets would be stored in there, and unbeknown to me at the time, because I was very young, there were larvae in there, and the larvae then hatched into, pupated into these moths. My friends, this is the clothes moth. And that's why I used to get chased around the house a lot. So, okay, shall we?
Sorry,
with another one?
One more question, because it's relevant, because it's the owls. Adam Watts asks, how are the owls doing on the levels? We've seen a couple of Ham Wall and 4 driving around Birtle and Mark, but not seen any at Shapwick or Catcott this year.
That's interesting. I think it's a much later season in any case, so despite the fact that these are obviously have laid, I think it's over a month later than last year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So despite the fact that this is a new relationship, I think it's a late season, and I think that's a genuine response to the level of water and then the weather completely changing to being very, very dry. Because don't forget, when it went dry, it wasn't just dry, it was really cold. So we didn't get that many night frosts, but we still had that very drying northeasterly wind, which would have hampered the grass growth as well. So there's still opportunity for things to pick up, and don't forget, as we know from barn owls in the past, particularly if I cast my mind back to 2013, a very, very cold spring and early summer, some barn owls actually didn't start breeding until July.
Wow.
They can adjust, so they'll be very food related. In terms of how they're doing then, it's late, it's a late season, difficult to tell at the moment, and we will probably be getting around to our barn owls within the next month. At the moment we're heavily monitoring all our tawny owl boxes. I can give you an update on that. Does anybody want an update on tawny owls? So early indications are that it is not the good year that it was last year. Last year was the best year in the previous 8 years, and so far it's looking like a mixed picture in terms of when they would have started. Some went really early, and others have gone much later, but the early indications, so the few sites that we've done already, it's a lot poorer than it was last year, but there are branching owlets about, and one of the reasons why we know that is not just checking nests, of course. It's the fact that we hear from our friends in wildlife rescue, and they will tell us that a lot of people have been picking up, just like last year, fledgling tawny owls, and these are the ones that have branched, and a lot of the time they don't need picking up, they need putting, if anything, next to a tree, and normally if they're at the branching stage, they can easily pull themselves back up the tree to get to safety, providing they're close to a tree to start off with. Obviously, if they're in real trouble, then yes, contact your local wildlife rescue service centre. So the one that is used a lot here would be Secret World Wildlife Rescue at Highbridge. But they're very good. They'll actually ring me and say, we found what we think is just a branched owl, what do we do? And if they'll send me a picture, and when they reach the site, and I'm able to advise them if it looks to be a certain age and there's no real danger around, just put the bird back. And too many, and rescue centres will agree with me, they'll be the first to agree with me, too many of these young birds end up in captivity when they don't need to. And they're often taken by well-meaning people. So nothing wrong in that case, just we need to think about when we find a fledgling bird in particular. We used to run a scheme in the Hawk and Owl Trust many years ago called "If You Find Me, Leave Me Alone," unless of course I'm in real trouble. And we used to be able to give out numbers of rescue centres that will do that. We'll resurrect that project again. That's one for next year. Okay, another question?
That's it.
That's it.
All the questions we are.
All the questions are done. Right. Well, let's. We had a question about a peregrine site, didn't we? Now, if you knock me off, I can read some information because I've got some. I've got some information which has come in from the wonderful, magnificent. I'm going to really beef him up. Hawk and Owl Trust's very own Hamish Smith, who's our peregrine guru. And Hamish has sent some stuff through. So if we go to, oh, I'm still there.
Oh, sorry.
I'm still there. Get rid of me. Because the reason why he's getting rid of me is because I'm going to read what Hamish has sent through. He's sent me reams of information. So, and obviously I shall be reading some of this off. So if we go to Bath again, I can give you an update on Bath, which has come from him. So there should be 2 eggs here. I'm very fast asleep. I think that's going down for the night now, isn't it? The 2 eggs, he says, were actually laid 105 hours apart from each other. So how about that? So that's interesting. And also there's been an intruding peregrine here, seen now and again. So we had a question, and we haven't got a camera at this, or we haven't got a live stream camera at this particular site. Now, where we were getting confused in part 1 was that the question came in about St. John's in... Have you got the question there?
I'm just trying to find it. 1 second. I seem to have mislaid it.
It was in part 1.
Part 1. Yeah, let me just bring that up. Seems to have disappeared off the Facebook feed, unfortunately.
Okay, well, we did have a question about St. John's, and both Mark and I thought it was St. John's in Bath, and the person asking the question actually did put Yeovil into the question. Yeah. So, and I've looked down through Hamish's information, and thank you, Hamish, if you're out there listening to this at the moment. He did send me information on that. They've currently got 3 chicks. So, and he basically sums up so far that this season is a bigger spread than normal. So that what he's basically saying there is much like I was saying about the tawny owls. So some laying earlier, some laying normal time, and as he also states here, some not even laid yet. But across the country, he says some nests are close to laying, others are on eggs, some recently hatched, and a number are ready for ringing already. Some just haven't bred at all, despite showing all the early signs in advance. So that's a brief resume of what Hamish has actually sent me, but it kind of puts into perspective probably something again that the weather's actually been doing, and again with the dry period. One thing I've noticed, I don't know if you had this down here, and I throw this out to everybody out there that's listening to this at the moment, is that have you noticed how good the dawn and the evening chorus was, let's say about 3 weeks ago, and then suddenly when the temperature really went up, it almost disappeared, and it shouldn't have done. And so I think a lot of birds, but in particular, I noticed the blackbirds in our garden and the robins have started to really scratch around. The singing is much reduced, and they've actually gone into the fact that they need to find food for their babies. And we've got blackbird nests in the garden, we've got robin nests in our garden, but they now suddenly seem to have gone into what seems to be a bit of pressure, and that's affected the amount of song which has actually been taking place. Now, am I the only one that's noticed that? Has anyone else noticed that when the temperature suddenly started to go up and we almost went into summer in the spring, that the birds started to switch off? Interesting. And I wonder if things like that, obviously that's fairly late on, but I wonder if things like that also affect will affect the peregrines, because we're talking about major food sources here for the peregrine falcons. And in my area, one of the major food sources for them used to be fledgling starlings. And obviously with the starling crash that we've had at home, I know you haven't had that here on the levels, but at home, and I live in North Somerset, we've had a major starling crash. And how that will affect local peregrines, seeing as they optimise their feeding of their young with juvenile starlings, how that will affect them will be very interesting to watch. So that's something to certainly keep a watch on. Right, so any more questions on that particular subject?
Not on that particular subject, no.
No, nothing at all. Okay, right.
There is a question, but it's about red-footed falcons.
Red-footed falcons.
Yeah.
Let's go on and ask.
Adam Watts asked,
Try me.
seen a few photos of red-footed falcons on the Levels Facebook. Are they rare here, and could it be off course of where it should be?
That's really interesting. Brilliant question. I think I saw many years ago. I was up in Cotswold Water Park, and I went there to watch hobbies. And I had a hobby day. I gave myself a treat. And whilst I was up there was a red-footed falcon. One of the birders that was up there gave us a tap on the shoulder and told us where red-footed falcon was. And then there was one, I think probably about 8 years ago in Cheddar Gorge. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that the sightings are going up. And so this is a bird that we will get with the fact of climate change. There's a number of species I think that we will start to get. I think throughout the winter they've had short-toed eagle down in Cornwall, and I believe there is one being sighted at the moment in the Yorkshire Dales. So these are things which are probably spreading up through France, and maybe they've been attracted by the fact that we're actually, can you believe it, we've been warmer than France, we've been warmer than Spain. And so you saw that, if you've been watching this live all the way through, you'd have seen the amount of insects that are actually out across the Somerset Levels at the moment. When Mark turned the camera around to the levels, the sheer volume of insects that were out there. So that will attract the type of birds that something like a red-footed falcon will be feeding on insects, but it will also be feeding on some of the small birds which are eating the insects. So yeah, I'm not surprised that we're starting to see that. And I did see some of the brilliant photographs coming out from Somerset Levels of the recent red-footed falcon, and full credit to the photographers, all the photographers that have been out to see it. Well done for keeping the information flowing through. And it's a bird I look forward to. So you're bound to ask me now, aren't you? What about owls? What are we likely to see with climate change with owls? Well, I reckon we're probably not a great deal of time away from being able to go out of the evening here at the Somerset Levels and hearing this sound. And it's probably a good job you can't see me at the moment. European Scops owl.
Wow.
That's my prediction. My prediction. Give it 10 years, 15 years, but we'll start to hear them moving up through as well, particularly if we get the kind of weather conditions that we have had in the past week. I know it's a bit chilly out there now, but there is still the food out there for them. That's the main thing, of course. Okay, right. So, who have we got now? Where are we going to go? Let's have a look. Diddly-dee, diddly-dee. Oh, let's go to the beaver cam. Let's go all the way back to Sculthorpe Moor. I fancy looking at some European beaver. Are we going to get them live? Are we going to get them live? We did this once before, folks. there was a marsh harrier cam, and we actually put the camera on for the first time, and there were marsh harriers flying. But have we got this with beavers? No. So this is actually, obviously, the beavers at Sculthorpe Moor. They're in an enclosure, huge enclosure, and they're part of a scheme where they're being studied as to their effect on the reserve. And so you just look at that gorgeous habitat. I could be in Sweden. I just had to take 2 steps back then and just go, wow, that's amazing. That's just fantastic. And so I've actually seen, been inside the enclosure and actually seen the some of the work that the beavers have done here. They are bringing down some of the trees at the edge of the wood. Now, for people that think that beavers will go a long way into a wood and bring down trees and get rid of whole woodlands, no, they don't. No, they're taking down at the edge, and effectively what they're doing is creating copper stools. So that's then they manage those copper stools. That's the type of thing that they're eating, and obviously they will move big pieces of branches, etc., and they'll actually move those by the water. So they'll put them in the water and then move them up and down. Oh yes, we've got one! Oh, look at that! There's a beaver actually going past live on a Hawk and Owl Trust show. Yes! Do we rock or do we?
Well, I never.
Yeah, we got one. Beaver going by. How about that? And if you've been impressed by that, don't forget you can join the Hawk and Owl Trust by just simply going to, and there's a splash at the left-hand side of the screen, so there's something else there as well. But all you have to do is go to www.hawkandowltrust.org.uk and go and sign up, become a member of the Hawk and Owl Trust, and you can actually become a member of Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve or Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve. And don't forget, obviously, you can also adopt one of our magnificent nesting boxes. And by adopting one of our boxes, obviously what that does is that gives us finance to be able to go out advising landowners, putting up new boxes, and obviously collecting data, monitoring. And if you think, we monitor for the sake of it, we don't. If you think of some of the things that we've been talking about with land use change, with climate change, a lot of that data is collected by looking into our boxes and actually seeing how the owls and the birds of prey are doing. Don't forget, the birds that you're looking at, the kestrel here, the peregrines that you've seen, the barn owls, they're all indicators. They're all indicators to the health and the wealth of your local environment. But wasn't that magnificent? We saw a beaver live on the Hawk and Owl Trust show.
Mr. Zigzee said, went on an evening walk a couple of weeks ago at Sculthorpe and was lucky enough to see a couple of beavers swimming, and the work they're doing is amazing. Definitely go on an evening walk if you're in Norfolk.
Yep, excellent. Yes, yeah, I know the guys up there that do the walks. They're very knowledgeable, and obviously they keep an eye monitoring these beavers, and hopefully one day they will take the fence down and these beavers can be liberated. The government originally did say something about there would be no more beavers, and suddenly there's been a very good U-turn, and that is the fact that no, beavers can be released. I sent a letter to my own MP about it. He's responded to me saying no, that's been overturned, and so yeah, they recognise the values that beaver brings to the environment. And I remember many years ago when I was doing some presenting for Radio 4, keeping an eye on a scheme down in Devon, where the Devon Wildlife Trust were actually creating calm grassland using beavers in an enclosure. And it was a magnificent project, and the information that they gained was absolutely incredible. So, the fact that I'm talking about beavers, I've talked about magpies tonight, I've talked about, we talked a little bit about the starlings. We've talked about blackbirds. None of those are birds of prey. None of those are owls. But that just shows the importance of our birds of prey and our owls. And obviously, as I said, they're the indicators to the health and wealth of your local surrounding environment. And it also says a lot about the Hawk and Owl Trust, doesn't it? Because obviously we are representing predators, and we must think about the entire ecosystem. So here we have beavers who are eco engineers. They engineer the landscape. And I believe, though I'm not giving anything away here, Mark, that you've got beavers local to you.
Really? Funny enough, I was going to ask you, do you think we'll ever see them on the Somerset level?
They are not very far away from you, my friend.
Maybe we'll have a beaver cam in the future.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But yes, they are here on the levels. That's fantastic. Where can we go from there? Well, should we keep in Sculthorpe? We've got a couple of other cameras.
Yeah, which one do you want?
Oh, you pick this time.
I'm not sure which ones are in Sculthorpe.
Okay. Goes to the Whitley Fen.
Okay.
Bye bye beavers. That was amazing.
Takes a minute to load, I'm afraid.
Okay. Oh well. Yes, I forgot that. So I should be talking over the top. So actually, I don't need to because it's just come up.
The audio's a little bit broken, but the audience is hearing what sounds like a chorus.
Oh, can I hear on your headphones?
Just breaking in and out.
Thank you very much, there, sir. Yeah, mostly dominated by blackbird at the moment, I can hear, but it is breaking up quite a lot. It's a difficult one to concentrate on.
It is, yeah.
But, I mean, basically we're using this as a visual, and so what we'll be looking at across here is any sign of marsh harriers moving, flying. This isn't the camera we used before, is it? This is a new one. It seems to be a new one. It's a different view.
I've not seen this view before.
No, that's really interesting. So marsh harriers, obviously, the eastern part of the country is very famous for marsh harriers. When they were very low in number across the country, I believe I'm right in saying that the remnant population was just in the area of Norfolk. And so I remember when Sculthorpe first became a Hawk and Owl Trust Nature Reserve, there was at least 2 pairs there. I don't know how many pairs they've got this year, but I know that they are definitely there and they are nesting. So we're bird watching just like the rest of you folks out there. And scout around the top of those trees as well to see if there's any red kites, because every time I go up to Norfolk now there's seemingly red kites everywhere, and beginning to happen down here as well, where I've been monitoring today. Wherever you find a silage cut field, there's several red kites gathering, and that's here in Somerset. So we're starting to see the same thing here with red kites building up in numbers. Okay, have we got another camera there? Yep.
We've got wetland.
Go to wetland.
Okay.
Starting to get dark here now in Somerset. We're into dusk. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, look at that.
Just whilst we wait for that to buffer, we have a question from Adam Watts.
Adam.
He said, what owls and raptors could we see at Mull, Islay or Butte in July?
Ooh, you're in for a treat.
We are having a holiday there this year, providing some education to my son.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Adam, you are going to fall in love. And I mean that most sincerely, my friend. So you will definitely get white-tailed eagles. And if you head in towards the middle of Mull, towards the mountains, you don't need to go up the mountains, stay down below, but keep looking up, golden eagle. And they are operating above the white-tailed sea eagles. And I've got to say that if you want a close encounter with a white-tailed eagle, go and see a friend of mine. This is this is going to sound dodgy. I just realised what this is going to sound like. Go and see my mate at Mole Charters, because he goes out in a boat out in the lake and he throws fish out for the white-tailed eagles, and they come down and they take the fish. That's well worth a trip. Go and see him, and if you do see him, you tell him Chris sent you. It sounds totally dodgy.
I'm going to switch quickly to
yep.
this.
Obviously, the camera takes precedent. We're going back to the barn owl cam now. So we have the male is back, whether he has anything or not. We will find out when he gets
No, he does not.
Oh. Coming out without a present to get a present.
Yeah.
That's not very good. Yeah, that's not good. Maybe that's another sign. Should be coming in with a present.
Yeah.
Oh, he's off again. That's quick. So what we just saw there is classic pair bonding, and it normally is stimulated by the male feeding the female. The fact that it hasn't just makes me wonder whether he's having problems catching. What we can do is we've got the people that watch this camera on a regular basis, and they watch all night long. We have a dedicated audience on YouTube, and maybe they could send a message in to how the feeding has been going on during the evening over the egg laying process. So just send a message, folks, in. Has it been good, slow, fast? It certainly doesn't look like it's fast. If it was fast, there would be a surplus of food around her, which we're not seeing at the moment.
Yeah. Not seeing any timestamps for feeds today, but that doesn't mean my chat only goes back so far.
Maybe one of them will send us a message as we go through. That's great. Okay. So, right, where were we? We were back over at Sculthorpe.
Just a note of interest. John Taylor says when he was asking about the tawny nest boxes and how far apart, he says, thanks, interesting to place boxes in relation to where male and female tawny owls are called.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's time of year, and so I would say you can't go wrong if you're listening to them from mid-January to from mid-December to mid-January. You can't go wrong because they're mostly calling in their home ranges. Okay, we've got that lovely view across there again. That's absolutely wonderful. It's got a lapwing there in the top.
Mm-hmm.
Can't make it. Got some duck here, but I can't make out the shape. Great crested grebes going by with their young. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So the view you're looking at here, if you've just joined us, is the magnificent Nature Reserve Sculthorpe Moor in Norfolk, Hawk and Owl Trust HQ. And if you get a chance for a visit, obviously do go along and have a look at our reserve. Okay, where else can we go?
We've got Ely, Kettering, Norwich. Yeah, they're the only three we haven't looked at so far.
Okay, right. I'll have to call up the information again. Right, let's go to... Sorry, folks, I'm just calling up the info. Okay, so if we go to Kettering...
Okie dokie.
The update information I've got from them... Oh, she's active. It seems lighter in Kettering than it is here.
It does.
That's a really good camera, isn't it? So she's actually incubating 3 eggs. So she's on 3 eggs at the moment, or he's on 3 eggs at the moment. So Norfolk has got 4 eggs. Swing by Norfolk again. They should be asleep now.
Which one's the Norfolk ones?
Norwich.
Norwich. Thank you.
So you're just waiting for the feed to come up from Norfolk? Oh, fast asleep. Now that's more like it. That's darker than here. That's good. That proves that the Earth, for all those people who think the Earth is flat, that proves it's not flat. Okay, so it's much darker than it is here because of the curvature of the Earth. Okay. That's the end of the astronomy lesson for today. Right. I think we're largely done on peregrines, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Nothing else there? Yeah.
any like
Just looking for the update information on that one. 3 eggs should be. Yeah, if you want to pop over and have a look. Oh, that's a lovely box. Look at that. Yeah, they're all settled down for the night, aren't they? Just as our owl's beginning to get going, all the diurnals are settling down. Because if you swing now back to the kestrel, your kestrel,
Yep.
that's definitely heads under wings, beaks under blankets. That is definitely roosting for the night. So the male won't be very far away. Obviously, I'm not sure where you've got this box, but if there's a tree close by.
Yeah, it's he very often will roost above the tree.
Really?
Okay. In fact, sometimes I've got a couple of things on the perch. He's normally there in that tree somewhere.
Okay.
Can't see him there at the moment, but that's the tree. The box is just below this point. We can't see the box from here, unfortunately, because there's another tree in the way you can see just there.
Yep.
But this tree behind is the one that he's normally in.
Okay.
Or where they launch from.
Okay, and obviously what you're seeing there is, again, proof of the pudding that the Earth is round.
Indeed.
Okay, well, I think we're getting towards the end now. If there's any last questions, now's your chance to send them through. Any last questions?
So David Wilkin just says that he's...
Oh, David! Hello, David! How's your season going?
He says he's enjoying the live broadcast. We've had barn owls back this year. Female is on 4 eggs. Hatch date should be around 19th of May.
Right, brilliant, brilliant. So, David, is that later than last year? Or is it on time for you? Be interesting to find out. Just send us a late or on time message. So we'll read that out when it comes through. Thanks, David. Lovely to hear from you. And we've got another interview to do, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah, don't put it up yet, because I'll give a little bit of a backstory. So, basically, we're, as I said to you, very close to where the Barn Owl webcam is. We are running a project, and that project is with the Environment Agency. So I went out during the autumn and did some assessment and looked at all the habitats that they've got with a view to increasing the opportunities for diurnal birds of prey, and of course the owls as well. And in particular, I was focused on kestrel and barn owls. As there's no woodland, I wasn't really focused on tawny owls. But, and this is a big but I had in the back of my mind about the fact that the long-eared owls were or had a history of breeding along this drain, along one of the drains that I was surveying. So now, following the success that we've seen our colleagues in Hungary have by using what is basically our kestrel box design that we would use for kestrels, not what Mark would use for his kestrels, emphasise that, but what a kestrel would normally use. And long-eared owls have been using those. So what I'm actually doing is putting up extra kestrel boxes along these drains in the hope that we can get a long-eared owl population going. So I have to get my map going again, or else we're going to lose the show. There we go, that's back. And so, we're undertaking that work. And finally, we got permission from the agency to proceed with the boxes. So those boxes now have started to go up. So obviously, what we're doing is putting up those boxes out of season, so to speak. So if you see, when you're going to watch a video now of one box, which is went up, a couple of boxes actually went up at the weekend, on Saturday actually, and you may be thinking, why are we putting up boxes at this time of the year? Well, it's not for this year. So this is for the future. But the habitats that surrounding it are absolutely brilliant. They're vole rich. Because the banks of these ditches are higher than the surrounding fields, means to say that these are slightly drier areas. So they don't normally get flooded. If they're flooded, everybody's in trouble, basically. So that's one of the projects that I've been working on through the autumn and the winter. Now, obviously, as we go through the summer, we'll be getting all of those boxes up ready for next year, and then we'll begin full monitoring next year of that project. I'm hoping that project will be extended all the way down the estuary to Bridgewater. So, and also this also introduced a new member of staff that we've got. So we have somebody else working with me now at Hawk and Owl Trust in the Southwest. And so I'll actually introduce by using this video. He came out with me on Saturday and put up our first couple of boxes, and then afterwards we went to take part in a bio blitz down at Glastonbury, but that's not on film. Saturday the 3rd of May, Chris Sperring, Conservation Officer for the Hawk and Owl Trust, here on the King's Sedgemoor Drain, where a new box has just been erected. Actually, a bit early or a bit late. Well, it's early for next year. So this is a project that we're doing with the Environment Agency along a river called, a drainage ditch, I should say, called the King's Sedgemoor Drain. So this is a project I reported on before. And that was when we were in our initial stages. We now got the go-ahead to actually put the boxes up. So these boxes will now be in situ ready for next year. And they have been expertly put up by our new member of staff. Let me introduce you to Joel Cox, who's now joined the Hawk and Owl Trust. How are you enjoying your first couple of days?
Yeah, going really well so far. I mean, obviously gorgeous weather, what's not to like, beautiful area. And yeah, looking forward to a busy season ahead, lots more boxes to come, so watch this space.
And a lot of monitoring to do.
And a lot of monitoring, yeah, looking forward to that.
So Joel will be out with me and we'll be monitoring the boxes that we've already got up historically, and obviously we'll be reporting back as we go through the season. But yeah, as Joel said, it's a wonderful day. We're actually on our way to an event. So we're actually doing a walk for a group of people as part of a bio blitz. And so on the way down, we thought this weather was just so glorious. We thought we'd stick up a few boxes here on the King's Sedgemoor Drain. And another reason for doing that now is because if we get rain, we're bound to get an awful lot of rain. And we probably won't even be able to get along here. So use every bit of the dry weather we can to get as many of these boxes up as possible. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye for now. Saturday the 3rd of May, Chris Sperring, Conservation Officer for the... So I'll apologise to Joel if he's actually watching this now. He wasn't expecting to see that. But yeah, that was a great day. That was a great day out. Obviously being able to show new member of staff around, and obviously I'm sure we'll welcome Joel into his new role here in the southwest of England, and he'll be going beyond the southwest of England as well. He'll be in other areas. So obviously if you're a part of the Hawk and Owl Trust, you'll be seeing a lot of Joel as time passes by. So I think that kind of wraps it up for tonight, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just got a bit of feed from our fantastic viewers and moderators. Lisa Duncan says the food, bringing back the food to our female is quite steady.
Good.
But he does mate a lot without bringing her food.
Cheeky.
And Helena Ashton, our moderator, agrees. And they are the main.
They're there all the time.
They all know more than I do.
Yeah.
They are so dedicated.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And that's the beauty of these cameras. And the great work that the people who are dedicatedly monitoring these cameras actually do, because obviously I've been writing a lot recently about how I used to watch owls, how I used to listen for owls, and there were no cameras, there were no mobile phones, there were no computers. That's how old I am, folks. So, you know, I had nothing. So if I heard, for instance, two tawny owls in a wood in the middle of the night, I had to create what they were doing, almost like a nature detective. I couldn't see anything. I could hear, and I could interpret by hearing, but I couldn't see what was going on. Now we've got these fantastic cameras, which really do let us into this amazing world. Look at that beautiful barn owl there, showing us its wings, stretching, lovely wing stretch there from the female. That's gorgeous. And the kestrel's looking on as well, almost like she can hear the barn owl moving around, but they're nowhere near each other, are they?
Close, but no cigar. David Stevens says, I know the peregrines at Wissington Sugar Factory, Norfolk, but there are 4 chicks at 11 days old.
Excellent news. Excellent. That's really good. Any other last questions before we disappear? We don't like to leave anyone out on this show. We really don't.
I think that is pretty much everything.
Any message back from David? No. No, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well, that only leaves me to say, if you want to join the Hawk and Owl Trust, please join us, support us, and we get a great deal of support from you just being a member. So go to www.hawkandowltrust.org.uk, sign up. Membership forms are there. Become a member. You can also become a member of Shatwick Moor. You can become a member of Sculthorpe Moor. And obviously, don't forget also to help our conservation work directly, you can adopt a nesting box, whether it's for yourself as an individual, whether you want to give a present to a loved one, or whether you're a class and you want more information. You can actually sign up for an adoption, adopt one of our boxes, and that helps us to be able to go and do more visits to farmers and more conversation with farmers. And let's be honest, folks, that's really important at the moment, to keep talking to farmers and landowners who are, some of them, really struggling themselves. I'm privileged in that respect. I get to go out and I get to meet these people and I get to talk to these people. And the information which I get from them, obviously, is incredibly important. It adds to our knowledge on not just land use, but also the birds which are on their land as well. From Mark and myself, I hope you have enjoyed the show. Please give us a like. It ain't much to ask, folks. Give us a like. Do you see the spider on the kestrel count? That was quite scary. I jumped feet then. That was good. So yeah, give us a like. Give us lots of likes. Give us some hearts.
Likes and shares.
Likes and shares. Give us a share. Give us a like. In fact, I'm not going to finish this show until we get at least one like. Come on. Give me one like. Mark is watching.
We have 16 likes so far.